what's new. So, as you may be aware, and I pity you if you are not and you live in the United States, we do have an election tomorrow. Donald Trump and Joe Biden are facing off. The country will go to the polls, and I'm sick of it. I am gosh darn sick of it. I have never been more sick of a news story in my life. I am so sick of the 2020 elections. I'm tired of it. I just don't want to hear any more about it, but I'm going to have to go and give you a speech about it. I'm going to give you my day before the elections message from Caleb Maupin. So if you're just joining us, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, make sure that you're still subscribed. The YouTube algorithms will unsubscribe people. Post this on Reddit, post this on Facebook, post this on Twitter, post this everywhere. Get this out. Let's make this a big afternoon conversation. It's Monday afternoon. Tomorrow is the Tuesday election, and I am so gosh darn sick of it. But I love my community. Let me tell you that much. I love you guys. Like the people that are here, we hop on YouTube, and there's hundreds of us, there's thousands of us. We get on here, I answer your questions, we engage. I have a fun time answering your questions. Sometimes I sing you songs, sometimes I recite poetry. Sometimes I tell stupid jokes. Sometimes you all make me laugh. So, hey, there you go. I'm glad I've got you. I'm glad you and I are part of this community. I'm glad we have each other. And I'm glad we can do our thing together, right? I mean, there's one silver lining in this world right now. It's the fact that we can actually have this time to engage with each other. It's the one silver lining in this disaster called the 2020 elections. I wish it was over. I absolutely wish it was over. So before I jump into this, let's make it a big conversation. Make sure as many people can get here as possible. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Let's do it. I've got plenty of unnamed diet beverage. Plenty of it. Folks, I want to tell you about Spain. Back in the 1400s, all over Europe, there was something happening called the Reformation. In Germany, you had Martin Luther. In Switzerland, you had Ulrich Zwingli. You had the Calvinists. All over Europe, there was this thing called the Protestant Reformation that was happening all over Europe. And what it really was an expression of the very beginnings of the capitalist class. Feudalism was propped up by the Roman Catholic Church, and so as the capitalist class was getting stronger and gaining its own energy, it began to rebel against the Catholic Church. And you had Martin Luther, John Calvin, you had, Ulrich Zwingli, you had, a rise in the Protestant Reformation. So the Vatican and the Catholic Church obviously saw that the Protestant Reformation was a very big threat to their power. But there was one place in Europe where there was no Protestant Reformation. There is absolutely no danger of the Protestant Reformation happening. Trump wrote it down. No danger of a Protestant Reformation happening. That was Spain, right? Spain did not have the level of development that the rest of Europe had, right? There had not become a mercantile, shopkeeper, capitalist class in Spain, right? It had not reached the level of development that Germany and France and Britain and other countries had, where it would have a layer that would give birth to a capitalist class that would rebel, and would lay the basis for a reformation. Spain did not have a Protestant Reformation. It was a stronghold of Catholicism. It was one corner of Europe where there was no danger of the Protestant Reformation ever happening. But as the Protestant Reformation was raging across Europe. In Spain, the leaders said, okay, this is one place where we are not going to have a Protestant Reformation. And so to make sure that we don't have a Protestant Reformation, here in Spain, we are going to have the Spanish Inquisition. And that's what they had in Spain. They had the Spanish Inquisition. And it was horrendous. People got burned at the stake. There was massive persecution of Jews. There was massive persecution of scholars and scientists and doctors. All kinds of people. Anyone who might slightly be suspected of the Roman Catholic Church, they got targeted. Mass burnings at the stake, right? It was horrendous, the Spanish Inquisition. Why did the Spanish Inquisition happen in Spain? It happened because Spain was the one place where there was no danger of there being any Protestant Reformation. There was no widespread capitalist class to resist it. It was a stronghold of the Roman Catholic Church. So to make sure that there was no danger, they brought the hammer down and they were all out. I don't know if folks realize that the derogatory slur for a homosexual, the term faggot, a very derogatory word for a gay person, comes from the Spanish Inquisition. Why? Because in Spain, during the Spanish Inquisition, they burned gay people, right? If you were gay, they burned you at the stake. That was what they generally did with anyone suspected of being a dissident or being in opposition to the feudal order. They burned you at the stake, and the word faggot literally means a stick for burning. So in Spain, the slur for a gay person became a faggot because they burned gay people, right? That's a pretty nasty derogatory slur. The Spanish Inquisition was awful. Lots of torturing went on. Lots of killing went on. What's also quite interesting is many Jews in Spain converted for fear of being killed or persecuted. Often you'll meet people from Spain who have, if you go way back, they have Jewish heritage, but they'll have the most Roman Catholic last name that you've ever heard of, right? If you ever meet a Spaniard whose last name is Santa Maria, right? Saint Mary, right? That often means that they were a Jewish person, and when these Jews would convert to Roman Catholicism, they would replace their last name with the most religious-sounding last name ever. So, if you ever meet a Spaniard whose last name is Santa Maria, there's a good chance that way back, they were Jewish, and they were forced to convert by the Spanish Inquisition. The Spanish Inquisition was awful. It was horrendous, but it was the feudal class and the Vatican in the one corner of the world where there was no danger of them being overthrown, in the one corner of the world where the rising capitalist class was so weak they didn't have to negotiate with them, just being ruthless and bringing the hammer down in order to secure their rule. That was the Spanish Inquisition. And there was another anecdote that happened during the Spanish Inquisition that is also quite relevant to today. And that anecdote is that during the Spanish Inquisition, the Pope and the Vatican went to the Jesuits. Right? The Jesuits were the most, highly educated, scholarly order of monks and priests in the Catholic Church. And they went to them and they said, we want Jesuits, we want you to develop a plan to destroy the Protestant Reformation. And the Jesuits said, okay, we will come up with a plan. Now tell us, what means can we use in this plan to destroy the Protestant Reformation? And so the Vatican said, any means is justified. Any means necessary. Any means justifies the ends of destroying the Protestant Reformation. Any means, by any means possible. All means, all methods are open. Whatever we have to do, we must destroy the Protestant Reformation. So the Jesuits went to work. They got all their scholars together, they debated, they wrote and they came back to the Vatican and they had a plan. Here was their plan. Their plan to defeat the Protestant Reformation was to completely change the Roman Catholic Church, get rid of all of the institutions that the Protestants were angry about, and completely make the Catholic Church so liberal and reformed that it would be not necessary to have a Reformation. And of course, the Vatican did not like that plan, right? Well, folks, speed up to today. The United States is the Spain of capitalism, right? After World War II, socialism was on the rise. The Soviet Union had already been socialist. Socialism was on the rise in Eastern Europe. Socialism was on the rise in China. Socialism was on the rise on the Korean Peninsula. All across Latin America, there were strong socialist movements. There was a big communist party in France, a big communist party in Britain, a big communist party in West Germany. East Germany had already become a socialist country. Socialism and Marxism was on the rise all over the world, but not in the United States. There had been a communist party before World War II, but they were weak. They were never anywhere as big. Hobbes. Never anywhere as big as the communist parties in the rest of the world at the time. So we had our own Spanish Inquisition in the United States. It was called McCarthyism. And McCarthyism, I would say, was probably just the most acute and extreme episode of it. But we developed here in the United States a culture where every notion of socialism, anything associated with leftism and Marxism, was just eradicated, right? I mean, they worked overtime to make sure that people in the United States were never exposed to Marxist ideas. They weakened the labor movement. They just did everything. The United States was the stronghold of capitalism. There was not a big enough communist party. They had to negotiate with it. Marxism was riding high across the planet, but in the United States, we had the Spanish Inquisition. And we got rid of communism, we got rid of Marxism, we trained the population to believe communism is evil, communism is the most evil thing, and the American capitalist class secured its rule by making sure that never would there be a strong communist movement in the United States, just beating down any notion of leftism, all kinds of efforts were made to make sure there was never any strong Marxist or leftist current in the United States. And that's the first way we're like Spain, right? During the Cold War, we had our own Inquisition. We made sure there was never a really strong left in the United States. That's number one. And number two, we went to our smartest academics and our smartest professors and said to them, how can we make sure that communism doesn't win around the world? What can we do to make sure that communism, doesn't become more powerful? All of our smartest think tanks and all of our professors and all of our academics studied this. How do we make sure that communism doesn't become popular? How do we stop the spread of communism around the world? They all got into a huddle and they talked about this, and they came back. And this is probably the early 60s this happened. They said, okay, what we've got to do is all the countries that are like our allies, we have to let them economically develop. And we have to let them raise their people up out of poverty. And we have to let their workers form labor unions. And we have to let them trade with each other and be beneficial. And we have to let all the countries around the world that are aligned with the United States, we have to let them build themselves up and get stronger and get wealthier. We have to build hospitals and schools all over the world. And we basically have to defeat the communists. In order to defeat the communists, we have to make sure that no one ever wants to be a communist by making capitalism so humane and so friendly and so kind, making sure everyone has health care, making sure everyone has education, that no one will ever want to have a communist revolution. And you can imagine how thrilled the capitalist class was with this answer, right? And John F. Kennedy believed this, right? John F. Kennedy said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. And John F. Kennedy and his wing of the ruling class, they helped to develop South Korea, and they built up, the South Korean steel industry. They worked with the Shah of Iran to have the White Revolution and to build up Iran's industries. But what happened to John F. Kennedy? What happened to John F. Kennedy? John F. Kennedy was shot. And the Vietnam War escalated. Folks, we are living in Spain. We are living in Spain. Folks, here's what our ruling class doesn't understand. They built all of this, all the stuff that they're upset about with Donald Trump, the mindset that gives rise to a typical Trump supporter, the millions of Americans who think Joe Biden is a communist, the millions of Americans who think that police brutality is a liberal lie made up by communists who hate white cops and want to persecute white cops. All of this was built by them. The U.S. establishment built all of this. Look, you can't spend decade after decade after decade working really, really, really hard to make Americans as stupid as possible. You can't, have the worst educational system in the Western world. You can't have over-the-top anti-communist propaganda all the time. And then, after the Cold War, just come together and say, you know what, we're going to have a liberal upgrade now. The United States, we're going to be like a liberal country now. We're going to be like racially sensitive. We're going to like stop the white supremacy thing. And we're going to go around, spreading human rights. We're going to present ourselves as like liberal internationalists, right? You're all okay with that, right? No. For decade after decade after decade after decade, the U.S. public has been trained to be virulently anti-communist, fanatically extreme, close-minded, and on top of that, stupid, right? I mean, they have really worked hard to make our educational system and make our mass media and make everything about U.S. society effectively render people less and less intelligent, right? We have, turn on the TV. How many shows are on? I can't watch TV, right? I can't. There's so many reality shows of like following rich people around and hearing them like fight with each other, and it's like watch American television for a few minutes, right? I mean, it's so bad, but it's designed to make you dumb, right? Listen to American music, watch American media. Everything has been done. Look at our educational system. We joke about it. We laugh about it. Ha 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 ha. We can't find our own country on a map. Ha 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 ha. Americans can't even find on a map all the countries that they're bombing. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, they did this. Now they're mad about it. Now they're upset. Oh my God, and now we have this guy in the White House, Donald Trump, and he's, Donald Trump figured out how to game the system. He figured out, the U.S. ruling class created a country full of people that are so politically ignorant and so confused. And Donald Trump knew how to manipulate that. He knows how to push those buttons. And Donald Trump does not care. Donald Trump does not care about the long-term interests of American capitalism and imperialism. Donald Trump cares about Donald Trump. He's for himself. And so the very forces that created this culture and this society and this right-wing, virulent, anti-communist, ideologically dumbed down society are now mad, furious about Donald Trump. You did it, guys. You made this, right? Would Donald Trump be president right now if Americans had been trained to think about politics with any level of depth? No. Would Donald Trump be president right now if we had a strong communist and Marxist movement in the United States that presented people with genuine populism and revolutionary optimism and Marxism? No. Would Donald Trump be president right now if, we hadn't had a culture of mass marketing and, a dumb media that trains the population to be stupid? No. They did this. They created Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a product of what the United States has been doing since the beginning of the Cold War, at least. Trying its hardest to make sure that its population is dumb and right-wing and not politically attuned, right? That's what they've been trying to do. And now Donald Trump figured out how to maneuver within that, that public, that mindset, that political culture that these elites created to work in his own interest and not in the long-term interest of American imperialism. And they're furious about it. They're furious. This isn't supposed to happen. No. They were supposed to dumb down the U.S. public, manipulate the U.S. public, politically indoctrinate the U.S. public for their own ends. But now Donald Trump has figured out how to maneuver, and their little liberal upgrade that they want, their synthetic left upgrade, where, a population that's been trained to think that America never did anything wrong and is the greatest country in the world and it's never done anything wrong, is supposed to now, feel so bad about slavery and stuff. Oops, that's not going to work, right? I mean, you tell people their whole lives, right? I mean, I've said it many times before, I will say it again, right? In the United States, right? People walk around all the time saying, this is the greatest country in the world. 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 And if you say, why? If you say, what measure did you come up with to make this the greatest country in the world? Now, are you saying we have the most money? Are you saying that we have the best political system? What measurement? How are we determining which country is the best? You might be right, okay? You might be right that this is the greatest country in the world. Can we get into understanding this with a little bit of depth? Can we figure out how it is that we're the greatest country in the world? If you say that, they go, you don't think America is the greatest country in the world? You must be brainwashed, because everyone knows that America is the greatest country in the world. You must be brainwashed, right? That is the political culture that they created. For year after year after year, they trained people to think like that. And now they're oh, somebody figured out how to maneuver around all of that, and we got to stop him. We got to stop Donald Trump. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Well, I'm not helping you stop him. I mean, I'm not pro-Trump. I'm not going to campaign for Trump. I don't support Donald Trump. There's things about Donald Trump that sicken me. There's also things about Joe Biden that sicken me. And, good luck with that one, guys. That's what I got to say. Good luck with that one, ruling class. You made your bed, now lie in it. You dug your own grave, now jump into it. I mean, this is... You're on your own, guys. I'm sorry. I watched, I don't watch a lot of leftist YouTube because a lot of it I don't like. I did watch ContraPoint's video on why you should vote for Biden. And what's interesting is I like ContraPoint's content. There's a couple things I like about ContraPoints. The first thing I like about ContraPoints is that she's not into this stupid cancel culture, right? She doesn't, she encourages leftists to actually engage with right-wingers and show why they're wrong, not to just point at them and say, shut up, racist. She actually digs into what the right wing is saying, why it's wrong, effective ways to counter it. There's a level of depth there. I like that. Number two, the other thing that I like about ContraPoints is that it's very educational. It's very deep content, right? She digs into this. So I watched the ContraPoints video about why you should vote for Biden, and I watched it, and she was arguing against people that would say, don't vote for Biden, let's have an armed communist revolution. And of course, that's ridiculous. There's not going to be an armed communist revolution. So yeah, she got him. She was arguing against people who say, don't vote for Biden because he's not far left enough, but She didn't address my concern, which I think is a legitimate concern. If you are a genuine anti-imperialist and a genuine socialist, which is Biden really better than Donald Trump? I mean, he might be, and in some ways he certainly is, but is Biden really the lesser of two evils? Not should we vote for the lesser of two evils, but is Biden actually the lesser of two evils? I am not convinced. I am not convinced. Why? Look at the arguments that Biden uses against Donald Trump. What are Donald Trump's crimes? According to Joe Biden, the reason Donald Trump is bad is he's encouraging people not to trust our political establishment. He's sowing distrust in American institutions. We're supposed to trust the CIA. We're supposed to trust the mainstream media. We're supposed to trust the American institutions. And Donald Trump is encouraging people to distrust America's institutions, so he's got to go. He's got to go. Well, folks, I don't trust America's institutions. I don't trust the CIA because they have a long history of lying, because they have a long history of murdering and killing people. And so I don't want Americans to trust the CIA. I mean, I don't think that our political system in the United States is a good system. You know, the system that allows billionaire bankers and corporations to rule over the world, the system that allows, prisons for profit and kills people with opioids, the system that allows war after war after war to go on. I don't think it's a good system. So Donald Trump sowing distrust for that system, I'm still not understanding why that's an argument about why I should get rid of him. Another argument about Donald Trump. Donald Trump supports, quote unquote, conspiracy theories. Folks, I will never forget sitting in a college class, raising my hand, and I don't even remember what we were discussing, and saying, and then, the FBI and the U.S. government killed Fred Hampton, a leader of the Black Panthers. The student behind me laughed and said, "I'm sure that's true." Right? It was a conspiracy theory. Apparently the killing of Fred Hampton was a stupid conspiracy theory. Well, it turns out that the killing of Fred Hampton, the leader of the Black Panthers of Chicago, is not a stupid conspiracy theory. It turns out it actually happened. But according to people brainwashed and raised in this liberal normie culture, they heard it immediately. No, our FBI never kills innocent people. I hear you, Joanne. I hear you. So, when the U.S. public thinks that the FBI killing Fred Hampton is a stupid conspiracy theory, the idea that Donald Trump might be getting people to be more open to thinking about conspiracy theories, is that an argument against him? I mean, look, there are things about Trump that are reprehensible, and there's a reason I could never vote for Donald Trump. I could never vote for Donald Trump because of the way, what he's been doing at the border, separating parents and children. I could never vote for that. The way he has escalated us to war with Iran, ripped up the Iran nuclear deal, killed Qasem Soleimani. Never could I vote for Donald Trump. I could never vote for a president who's cheering on the police right now and opposing police brutality protests at a time when the whole country is finally waking up to the reality of police brutality and the problem of police brutality. Donald Trump is cheering on, Blue Lives Matter. I could never vote for Trump. But you know what? I'll never forget when I first learned about incidents like the killing of Amadou Diallo in New York City, like the killing of Sean Bell in New York City, like so many examples of police brutality. Now, what was the word that people would tell me when I told them, the police murder black people and get away with it and don't face any accountability? What did they call it? They called it conspiracy theory. Oh, that word that Biden is using against Trump. And when I was saying that police murder black people and get away with it, what was I doing? I was encouraging distrust of America's institutions. You know, that thing that Donald Trump is supposed to be bad for doing. Right? One of the major arguments of Biden against Trump is that Donald Trump is friendly with quote-unquote thugs. Now, I mean, I would agree with that. Donald Trump is friendly with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the biggest bunch of thugs and murderers in the Middle East. Right? They're murdering people in Yemen. They're murdering people, bombing people in Yemen. They are tied to terrorist groups in Syria, tied to terrorist groups in Libya. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are thugs and murderers. That wasn't who Joe Biden was talking about, though. Is Donald Trump friendly with thugs? Absolutely. Juan Guaido, the self-proclaimed president of Venezuela. I don't know who that is. The self-proclaimed president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido, whose supporters lit their own food truck on fire in the hopes that they could provoke the United States to invade Venezuela. Yep, Donald Trump is friends with Juan Guaido, even brought him as an invited guest to his State of the Union, and Juan Guaido is a thug and a murderer. That wasn't who Joe Biden was talking about. Now, Donald Trump is friends with a lot of thugs and murderers. He's friends with the Israeli settlers who, destroy the homes of Palestinians and take pleasure in demolishing Palestinians' homes and torturing the Palestinians, right? Donald Trump is very close to the Israeli settlers and their thuggish behavior. Donald Trump is very friendly to all kinds of right-wing thugs and extremists around the world. That wasn't who Joe Biden was talking about. During the debate, Joe Biden, when he accused Donald Trump of being friendly with thugs, he referred to Kim Jong-un, the leader of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The leader who was willing to meet with the United States and is willing to eventually give up the nuclear weapons on the understanding they won't be overthrown. The man who leads a country. Do you think Bush Sr. would have been better or worse or equal to Clinton? Kim Jong-un is leading the Korean people. They've been at war with the United States for many decades. They've faced horrendous sanctions, but they've gotten their own satellite into orbit. They've done amazing things, and they've held out. It's kind of amazing what they accomplished, and that's who Joe Biden thinks is a thug. Joe Biden also thinks that President Xi Jinping, who is leading China to have a huge crackdown on corruption, to revive its communist culture, he thinks he's a thug. He also thinks Vladimir Putin, the man who saved Russia from the nightmare of the 1990s by recentering the economy around the state, by creating Gazprom and Rosneft as the center of the economy and rescuing Russia from the disaster of free market economics. He thinks Putin is a thug. Joe Biden is promising that he will be more hostile to North Korea, more hostile to China, and more hostile to Russia than Donald Trump. And all the thugs, the actual thugs that Donald Trump is associated with, like the Saudis, like Juan Guaido, Biden's in with them. Got no issue with them. Folks, Buckminster Fuller. Folks, that issue was never addressed in ContraPoint's video. The fact that Donald Trump is fighting against the establishment that if you are a legitimate leftist, you should be fighting against. If you are a legitimate leftist in the United States, you should be fighting against the establishment, not protecting the establishment from Donald Trump. But I think many, many leftists have forgotten that. I think many, many leftists have forgotten that they are fighting the establishment. Instead, they are trying to make the establishment more politically correct, more friendly. I don't know what these folks are doing. Look, folks, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not supporting Trump. I'm not supporting Biden. And I'll just be real with you. I'll probably get flack for saying all of this, but folks, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But if you are a serious leftist or a Marxist, if you actually like the ideas that we're talking about on here, thank you for the super chat, much appreciated. Sit this one out. Go vote however you want to vote. I'm not telling you not to vote. I would never do that. But seriously, if shit gets real in the street afterwards, please, I don't want to lose any good comrades for Joe Biden or for Trump. Donald Trump is not worth dying for. Joe Biden's counter-Trumpian revolution, or whatever you want to call it, Joe Biden's attempt to rescue the establishment is not worth dying for. Please don't go die for Joe Biden. Please don't go die for Donald Trump. Sit this one out. Let the Rad Libs and the Vosh fans and the Proud Boys kill each other. Let them do their thing. Let the Anarchids and the Proud Boys, rumble with each other. Sit this one out, please. What was that super chat that went out? Right position on immigration. Right. Look, I'm not a fan of Trump. I'm not a fan of Biden. If Trump wins, we're going to get 4 more years of stupidity, 4 more years of the left are all a bunch of communists, 4 more years of whatever Trump thinks is in his short-term interest. Escalating tension with Iran, escalating tensions in Latin America against Venezuela and Cuba. When Biden gets in, Biden is going to try to nail the door shut to make sure that nothing like Trump ever happens again, but also to make sure that nothing like Bernie Sanders ever happens again. Because you could not have had Donald Trump without Bernie Sanders. If the Democrats had not rigged their primary against Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump would never have been elected. Never. If there was not a deep state grudge against Bernie Sanders for the fact that Bernie Sanders was sympathetic to the Sandinistas of Nicaragua and to the Cuban Revolution, right? If there was not a determination on the part of the ruling class to never let Bernie Sanders get anywhere near the White House, if Bernie Sanders had been given a fair and square chance, he would have been the Democratic nominee in 2016, and Donald Trump's presidential campaign would be a historical footnote. And Joe Biden knows that. And they are going to try their best when they get into office, if they get into office. I shouldn't say when, because there's no guarantee they'll win. Looks good for them right now, but don't count on it. If they get in, they are going to try their best to nail the door shut. They do not want live streams like this to be taking place on YouTube. They do not approve of the fact that you are hearing my voice right now. And if Joe Biden gets in, they're going to take office And they are going to try their hardest to shut down political debate and discourse in the United States. And they are going to do their best to make sure that all anti-establishment voices in the United States are silenced. No Trump, no Bernie, centrism. And you should look into the details of some of what they're doing right now. Some of what they're doing has a very, very sinister character to it. Very, very sinister character to it. Look into the details. They've got some plans. Now, I published this book, Kamala Harris and the Future of America. Check it out, right? If Joe Biden becomes president, there's a very good chance she will be president. And I've told you what she's all about, how scary she is, and the problem of American politics. This book is doing very well. Continues to sell lots of copies. Also, we have our own edition of The Green Book by Gaddafi. Never forget who destroyed Libya, what the real situation was, how Libya was once the most prosperous country on the African continent, and now Libya has been reduced to chaos. Never forget that. Folks, this election is a nightmare. I wish it was over. I don't support Trump. I don't support Biden. And I wish this was all over. Folks, in my little letter that I wrote to ContraPoints, just a few sentences, I said there are aspects of Trump, that might be pointing toward something positive, like the notion of a strong leader fighting the elites. And somebody tweeted at me that a strong leader fighting the elites is, quote, the definition of fascism. Seriously, right? That a strong leader fighting the elites is the definition of fascism. So just so you know, if you are a good, obedient Joe Biden leftist, you are not allowed to want a strong leader fighting the elites. Because if you do, then you're a fascist. Folks, this is why the left is going to lose in the long term. This is why the right is not the answer either. Folks, why do people love Superman? Why do people love Superman? What is it about Superman? If you ever watch one of those old Christopher Reeve movies, they always make you feel good. They always make you feel good. There's just something about those old Christopher Reeve movies that make you feel good. Right? Superman is from another planet. He landed. He's a space alien. He came on a spaceship as a baby from another planet. He landed in Kansas. He has superpowers. Faster than a speeding bullet. But he lives a humble life. He puts those glasses on so no one can see who he is. He doesn't like violence. Superman is a friendly, humble guy who's just trying to do what's right. He's a little bit of a nerd. He's quirky. And Superman, if you look at the history of the comic books, Superman was quite progressive. One of his first actions was to save a group of striking miners against their crooked boss who was conspiring to kill them. Superman fought the Ku Klux Klan during the Second World War. He went after them, and their actual secrets were exposed in the Superman radio program. They exposed the actual secrets of the Ku Klux Klan. Superman was called the Man of Steel. Does anyone know what Man of Steel, do you know how to say that in Russian? You know how to say Man of Steel? Superman represents what is good within the American spirit. Humility, kindness, compassion, anti-racism, anti-violence. If you want to know the goodness within Americans, check out a Superman comic, right? Superman is everything good within the Americans. It was written by two comic book writers in Cleveland who were supporters of Roosevelt. And Superman was considered to be everything good about the United States. And who did Superman fight against? Superman fought against Lex Luthor. And who is Lex Luthor? Lex Luthor is a maniacally evil bald guy who's using technology to scheme and hurt the community and put the people of Metropolis into danger. So basically, Lex Luthor is Jeff Bezos. But whenever Lex Luthor Bezos has one of his evil schemes, Superman runs into the nearest phone booth, quickly changes clothes, and becomes a hero in a red cape, flying into action to rescue the people. And who are the people? It's us, the working class. Those of us who have nothing to sell but our own labor power, but nothing to lose but our chains, and a whole world to win. Folks, real socialism, real populism, the spirit that you find in a Superman comic, the desire to do right, to stand for truth, justice, and, God forbid, the American way, that's going to return. We're going to get back to Eugene Debs, Gus Hall, William Z. Foster, Huey Newton, Claudia Jones, Harriet Tubman, John Brown. We're going to get back to the forgotten American progressive tradition. We're going to get back to real populism. I don't even know what that last super chat was about. But we're going to get back to real populism, folks. That's going to happen. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. We're going to get out of this nightmare. I just cannot wait until this gosh darn election is over. Great reset. And on that note, folks, names and locations, I will call you out as I see you. Names and locations. Who is with us today? Who's with us? Names and locations. Who is with us? Will Lotz in Long Island. Rod Dog in England. Default in Atlanta. Bayonne, New Jersey. Dan Uko. Cincinnati, Ohio. Jenny Lynn. Houston, Texas. Berlin, Germany. JT24 in Mississippi. Las Vegas, West Virginia. Milwaukee, Spring, Texas. Los Angeles, Melbourne, Australia. Luxembourg, Vallejo, California. Serbia, Cascadia. Jack Dundee in the United Kingdom. Patty in Joshua Tree, California. PA, USA. That's Pennsylvania. Cleveland Pirate Alex, somewhere USA. Tehran, Iran. Maine. Union, New Jersey. San Jose. Morocco. Karenko, Louisiana. Tennessee. New Orleans. Germany. Staten Island, Hey Caleb, West Virginia. Transnistria. Hamilton, Ontario, Uptown Manhattan, Auckland, New Zealand, Syracuse, New York, Belize, Brazil, Zurich, Switzerland, UK, Albany, Greenock, Scotland, Asia, Dan from Pennsylvania, Metropolis, Max the Sax in Virginia, Austin, Texas, George Kraft. No, I don't. I'm not familiar with that website. Greece, Athens, Melbourne, Australia, Johnny from Texas, Julian in Sussex, Portugal, Liverpool, UK, Louisiana, Mohsin from Iran. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Dublin, Ireland, Nate from Sydney, Australia, Fairhope, Alabama, Leipzig, East Germany, Melbourne, Australia, East Coast, Oahu, Hawaii. Very, very, very good. All right, folks, let's get through these super chats real quick. Yes, Lena, I want to come to LA. Trust me, I wish this gosh darn pandemic was over. I'll be on a plane to LA and Southern California as quick as I can. Election will not solve the problem because both parties are working on behalf of the 0.1% and aren't dealing with the core problems that are concern the majority. Their days are numbered. Couldn't agree more, Joanne. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. All right, what if there's a Trump coup? Well, let me tell you what I said before, right? Stay out of it. You know, we got no dog in this fight. You know, go vote however you want to vote. That's your duty and your right as an American. But seriously, you know, if you disagree with me and you're, you know, a right-winger or you're one of these rad libs, go do whatever you want to do. But if you're one of the people who's down with what we talk about on here, if you want a government of action to fight for working families, if you believe revolution is the main trend in the world today, and please don't put yourself in danger over this. Seriously, go protest police brutality if you want. You know, go protest for workers' rights. Go protest a war. But seriously, do you want to risk getting hurt, risk arrest, risk dying for Joe Biden? You want to get hurt, risk arrest for Donald Trump? Are either of those guys worth putting yourself on the line for? No, absolutely not. And yes, you know, let them fight it out. Let the ruling class fight it out. Let them fight it out, right? I don't see these next few days as being a moment where any progressive agenda is going to assert itself. This is evil versus evil. It's different evil, not lesser of two evils. This is different evil factions fighting among themselves. They dug their own grave. They made their bed. Their system's falling apart. Yeah. I'm not familiar with Hobbes' materialism. I do know about Hobbes' beliefs about, you know, monarchy and such. And I don't know. I don't really want to say much about Thomas Hobbes. So thanks for asking. Would you have voted for a sock dem? Yeah, I think I would have. Yeah, I think if Bernie Sanders had gotten the nomination in 2016 or in 2020, I would have voted for him. Yes, I would have. I obviously have my criticisms of Bernie, but I would have voted for him. Yeah, I would have seen him as genuinely being the lesser of two evils, right? I don't see Biden that way. There's a lot of things about Bernie Sanders that are problematic. There's a lot of things about Bernie Sanders to get excited about. There is nothing about Joe Biden to get excited about. So there you go. Would Bush Sr. have been better or worse than Clinton? No, I think Clinton was probably better. See, back during the Cold War normal, right, when it was Republicans versus Democrats, that Cold War setup, the Democrats were slightly better. Libya with a liberal, he said Gaddafi's got to go over and over again, despite any logic or facts. Are you surprised, Gleb? Are you surprised about that, right? But no, I mean, I think that Clinton was better than Bush Sr., but we're not in that old setup anymore. We're not in that old setup. It's a new ballpark, as they say. It's a new ball game. And, it used to be the Democrats were the more progressive party that appealed to the better side of people. They usually sold out their base, but they at least talked a better game. But now the Democrats are the party of defending the establishment. They're the party of protecting trust in American institutions, of the party of not negotiating with thugs, the party of, outlawing conspiracy theories on the internet. I'm sorry, I see the Democrats as just a defense of the American establishment, and it's an establishment that I have no love for. Folks, I'm sorry, I grew up in the United States of America. I know where Trump came from. After 9/11, I had a teacher who told us that, quote, Islam is, quote, a poor excuse for a religion. That the reason that 9/11 happened is because Muslims believe murder is okay. It's part of their religion. I had another teacher, it was my gym teacher, who, when I said I was a communist, he said, so you're in the Ku Klux Klan? And I said, no. And he said, and I explained what communists actually are, we want, the banks, factories, and industries to be controlled by the people. And he said that was actually the system they have in Canada. It was called Commonwealth, right, where you hold the wealth in common. But the communists are like Hitler and Nazis and Ku Klux Klan. But what I believed in was Commonwealth, Yeah, just, what else? I remember I had a sixth grade teacher who taught us that the Big Bang Theory was about a meteor hitting the Earth and killing the dinosaurs, right? Because when that meteor had hit the Earth, it created a Big Bang, right? That's what she taught us, right? I went to a school that, I went to a school in Ohio, a small town. It's probably better than a lot of schools people go to in the South. Probably better than a lot of schools people go to in different parts of the country, And so, you got a whole population what is it? I think I had another teacher who said that communism is when the government kills people, right? At the time, Timothy McVeigh was executed. My teacher said that's an example of communism, because communism is when the government kills people. That's where Trump came from. Everything is in a constant state of change. Nothing is static. Nothing is permanent, says David Fox. And you are absolutely right about that. A does not equal A, right? The way things are today is not the way things will be tomorrow. So, hey, let's just get through it. This next 3 days is going to be rough, but let's hope that we can get past this election and get to some real moments of real political awakening, a real awakening of conscience, because this election is not good. Buckminster Fuller. I don't know enough about Buckminster Fuller's ideas. I've heard of him. I know he was like kind of a quirky, liberal, kind of like lefty counterculture intellectual who was popular. I know Marilyn Ferguson, who wrote The Aquarian Conspiracy and was the spiritual advisor to Al Gore, was also very good friends with Buckminster Fuller. So, yeah, there you go. He wasn't a Marxist by any means, but he was kind of a quirky liberal intellectual who was quite popular in like liberal circles in the 70s and 80s, from what I understand. I don't know enough about him. What is the correct position on immigration? We've got to stop the raids, right? What ICE is doing, terrifying immigrant communities, and that's got to end, right? The attacks on immigrants, the separation of families at the border, the bigotry and the scapegoating of immigrants, all of that must end, right? We need, people that are here right now, they need legalization, right? They need a blanket amnesty. They need to just make people citizens. Boom. On top of that, we need, I think, to have a policy where we're not destroying countries around the world economically or militarily, so people are not fleeing from their homelands. But yeah, the war on immigrants, the attacks on immigrant communities, to the huge gift to the drug cartels, huge gift to the terrorist groups and human smugglers. No, the war on immigrant communities is not good, and I'm opposed to it. Is it possible to radicalize the petty bourgeoisie? Yes, of course, right? There are many elements of the petty bourgeoisie that become revolutionary over the course of the years. Well, look, folks, I just got a message here, and I actually have to end this quicker than I thought I would. So it's always a pleasure to interact with you. It's great that we're a community here. I'm glad we can be here for each other. A new upsurge in the struggle against U.S. imperialism is now emerging throughout the world. Ever since World War II, U.S. imperialism and its followers have been continuously launching wars of aggression, but the people of various countries have been continuously waging revolutionary wars to defeat their aggression. While the danger of a new world war still exists, and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today. While the danger of a new world war still exists, and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today. I'm out.